Hi, this is Phil and Trish from SkiTalk.com, and we are here in our boot lab where we get our boots ready for testing. Now, granted, we don't normally focus on boots, but we've seen a lot of change coming up this coming year in boot technology that's on everybody's mind, that everybody's talking about, and that is BOA in boots.
It's kind of interesting because they're talking about it being new technology, but it really isn't new technology. It's been in snowboard boots for quite a while, and they've shown how that fit aspect works really well with different foot shapes. And it's kind of cool that they're bringing it over into ski boots, and we're going to play around with several different, well, all four that came out this year, and kind of get an idea of where it's going in the future. And it's kind of cool because we have Phil and I and another one of our product testers, and we played around in our laboratory here, and we're going to show you some of the fit aspects and things we've done with these boots.
Yeah. Now, we've seen boot technology come and go. We've got two right here that came and went. That's not BOA. It's not a rear entry boot. It's not a knee-high boot. Those are different. So we're just going to take them completely out of the picture now and talk about what BOA brings to the table. Now, well, you come to us normally for ski reviews, but again, we do get into boots from time to time. And when we take a look at boots, we want to make sure that we show that boot in its best light. And for us to do that, we need to get that boot ready for us to ski.
Setup is key.
Exact. Setup is key. And if you take a look around here, we've got our sanding grinder. If we need to do some adjustments, we have our custom footbeds. We work with MasterFit. We've got our Hotronix heaters in the boots. So when we set these boots up, we set them up right. We've got presses here. So if we need to do a bunion punch that needs to be done on the boot, we can get that taken care of and getting that boot set up so we can ski that boot properly. Now, right now, there are 4 manufacturers for this first year working with BOA, and that is Atomic, Fischer, K2, and Salomon. Why those 4 manufacturers? Well, with BOA expanding seriously into the ski boot end, they wanted to work with 4 brands that they've already had established relationships with. So as you see these slides coming up through here, it's going to give you an idea on how the BOA works and how it integrates into the shell. And with all of these shells, it's not that these manufacturers just drilled a hole in the side of the boot, add BOA, took off the buckles, and put the cable through. All of the clogs on these boots were designed specifically to work with BOA. So one of the questions that also comes up was the durability and longevity issue of BOA. As you see in this video, working with Danny Huberman from Fischer Skis and Fischer Boots on how that BOA, if we knock that BOA off, it can clip back on, so durability is not an issue. People are asking about replacement parts. Any dealer that is an authorized BOA dealer will have replacement parts available in stock, and to switch over if they need to have parts replaced, it's going to be quick and easy. That can be done pretty much while you wait. Starting with Atomic.
Alphabetical order?
Alphabetical order. So, Atomic, in their design with their boots, they're doing a couple things that are unique in the BOA offerings. And their boots primarily going to be focusing on the backcountry. So they've got two shell offerings, the men's and the women's collection. And again, the men's side here, you can see the models that are available. It's the Ultra XTD 130 on the men's side, and it's also available in a 110. And on the women's side, we've got a 95 and a 115 as far as their offerings. What they're also doing, some features that are also unique to some BOA offerings. Okay, first of all, it's the only brand that actually is starting off with a 98 millimeter last in their boots, where most of the other brands are starting with 100 millimeter last and coming in. We're starting with a 98 here.
And when you have a foot like mine, I've got a super skinny foot, super skinny ankle, it is really amazing to me how well this boot fits out of the box. I really only had to do one thing to it, and it was the bunion punch that I typically have to do, which you can see in this video. And it punched out nicely, and it's holding up well after 4 days of skiing.
Mm-hmm.
Another feature that I really like, it's kind of interesting because Phil likes a little bit more of a forward lean in the boot, and I like a little bit more of an upright stance. And one of the things that this particular boot offers is a 13, 15, or 17 degree forward lean. So you can adjust that accordingly depending on how you want the boot to be set up. And I'll be honest with you, Phil, you know, it's been a long time since I've been in a boot that has a hike feature, and skiing in this boot and feeling how well it skis, I really am getting inspired to dabble a little bit into some touring. I think that could be part of my future, like really soon.
And while Atomic does offer true backcountry boots at 1,800 grams, it's not the lightest one in the market, so the weight weenies are going to want to go a different direction there. But you do have a boot that's going to be light enough that's going to tour well for you, yet they didn't compromise anything for the inbounds control.
For sure. And today I just got back, like minutes ago. I got back from skiing up at Mount Rose, and we'd had this atmospheric river came in that was a wet storm, and it kind of set up so there was some manky snow out there, and this boot just held up. Like every time I wanted to make a turn, it just made it for me. It responded really well, which is not what I would expect normally in a backcountry boot, and it's not what I would expect in a boot that's supposed to be a little bit more generous. Actually, this is not a generous boot.
No, it's not.
No, it's not a generous boot. It's 98. It's a volume that I would normally ski.
Yep. And I think for this boot here, it's also one of the narrower 98s that are out of the market. Again, manufacturers use these numbers as points of reference. But what we found here, and where I measure 26.5, Tricia measures 24.5, and we'll tend to size down to get a more efficient fit. This is probably one of the few 26s that we ski in a measured size that we actually really like.
For sure. The last time I skied in a 24.5 on a regular basis was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I've been in a 23.5, even though I measure 24.5, for at least 15 years, and I've been astounded at how well my foot is holding in this boot. It is just really locked in there. The roof of the boot is really nice, the way it fits over my instep. I love how that boa, I can just do a click, click. And coincidentally, today we were up on the snow, and Steven and I were out there with our boa boots, and Andy was out there, and he had to go lean over and unbuckle his boot and micro adjust, and we kind of jokingly just leaned over and went click, click. And we took off and kind of laughed at him as we skied away.
So from Atomic, we've got a couple of backcountry offerings in a couple of different flexes. We have Stephen Davis here, who's actually been in the new Fischer RC4 Pro MV, their flagship of the BOA collection from Fischer. And again, Fischer's doing something that is a little bit different than what most manufacturers are doing, is that they have a significant upgrade when we're talking about this Pro collection, and that is including a zip fit liner in it. And I believe this is the first time that we've seen zip fit as a standard feature in a consumer level boot. So we're really excited about that. Something that differentiates the Fischer offerings from the rest of the BOA offerings out there. Now, Stephen, you have a couple of days in the boot. Again, we've got our lab here. We've did some modifications. We did a couple of punches here and there to get you set up properly in this boot. You were in a Fischer boot leading up to this with a couple of 100 days in that boot. I believe it was the RC4 Podium. So how do you feel this boot going with BOA compares to that Podium boot that you were in?
So far, it's been great. Not nearly as many mods that we had to do. I think you said my old boot looked like a mogul field.
Yep.
From all the punches. So this has been nice to just kind of strap it down, and it's allowed for my feet to go where they need to go without having to do too much to the shell. And the liner's been great. It's my first zip fit, but I've liked it. My heel pocket feels real locked in. That's one of the things about the boot. I do feel like the heel pocket's really snug without too much tightness around the front.
I think that really addresses some of the concerns that a lot of people have coming into BOA, because a company like Fischer is using the MV, which is their medium volume in the shell to start off with the BOA. You're coming from a low volume fit, and you are used to having that performance fit from that low volume. Do you feel there's any compromises with this being an MV versus that LV that you had before?
If there is, I haven't noticed it. I feel like I could crank it down, get it pretty tight. I have a little bit of wiggle room with the toes, but nothing that's, my foot's not wiggling around in the boot. So I don't see any differences in performance in any way.
So I hope that dismisses any concerns that people have out there that you are looking at an MV as that starting point. Now, Fisher does offer, as you can see, some different offerings that are available with BOA. They do offer the side country boot, as you can see on the list there. That comes in at a little bit heftier of about 2,000 grams. Don't be overly concerned with that. It's really more of an inbounds boot that has a walk feature. If you're looking for a Fisher with a BOA, they do offer the Trans-App collection and also the Traverse collection. So if you're looking more for that serious backcountry boot, and that has a little more uphill capacity. So for you weight weenies out there, don't worry, there are some offerings that are out there for you. So don't be overly concerned there. But overall, Fisher, especially going to this boot here, this is something unique that you're not going to find in a lot of the stores, just your high-end specialty retailers, say like California Ski Company. I know they helped us, they supplied us with this boot so we can add it to our test fleet. Thank you, Greg, and your team there at Cal Ski Company. Next up is K2. Now, Trish and I have had experience skiing in their regular models in K2 in the Recon and the Anthems.
Yeah, I was in the Anthem Pro for 210 days.
Yep. So they've taken their new design in K2 coming into this BOA generation of boots. Is they've actually got the biggest offerings that are out there. They've got 9 different models with a mix of Recons and also Mindbenders. So we've got the Recon here, and again, like Trish mentioned, we've both been in Recons in the past, and I was in the Recon Pro for a couple of years with about 150 days in that boot. Really like the way the boot skis. I think they did a super job with it. Now coming over to the BOA, where the Recon Pro was actually their 98 millimeter last, the Recon BOA here is actually a 100 millimeter last, and that was a really good test for me in how this boot and how the BOA works compared to the regular buckle counterpart. So what I really liked as far as how well that forefoot did work with the BOA and engulfed around the foot for very good closure. So I think K2 did a really good job with this collection in boots. So we've got, again, a couple of different flexes for Recon, as you can see up on the screen, as far as the different offerings that K2 does have with their boots. Now also getting into the Mindbender collection, which is their side country collection of boots.
And that's what I tried on when we were at a recent trade show, and I was able to try that on in my size, and I was really impressed that it felt very similar to my Anthem Pro. It might be a little bit more generous in the forefoot, but when you click the BOA, it actually takes that up very nicely. I could see really being a boot that I could also ski.
Yeah. And one thing really nice with that Mindbender collection for that side country boot, it's also one of the lighter ones. And again, depending on size, it's roughly anywhere from 1700 to about 1750 grams, which does come in some of the other offerings. So I think that's a really good option for somebody who is considering that side country boot that does still ski really well in bounds. Last but not least, out of the 4 manufacturers, we have Salomon.
Absolutely, and Salomon, I got to tell you, one of the things I love most is the pink boot.
Yes.
It's a pretty cool pink boot.
And we've had some discussion as far as what color it is. Please put your comments in the section down below. We are talking strawberry milkshake. We are talking Pepto-Bismol, and my input there, it is Nestle Quick. Strawberry Quick.
Yeah, you're wrong. It's strawberry milkshake all the way, and it's my boot, so I get to say.
So, with that said, Salomon, again, where its sister company Atomic is focusing primarily on the backcountry side, Salomon's offerings with the S Pro Super pretty much gears to the on-piste segment.
It does, and they do not offer at this point the narrower last boot because they're expecting it to come in nicely with the BOA, and it does come in nicely. However, again, they did not have my size that I normally ski, but they did have my measured size. In the first few days, it skied really well because it wasn't packed out, but I did find that I would need this boot in a performance fit as opposed to my measured size if I were going to ski this boot a long term. So the perfect part of it is that I know who it's for. It's for somebody that has maybe a little bit wider foot, but a higher instep and needs that nice smooth closure around their foot, and is able to ski a boot that's in their measured size, or maybe has a little wider foot.
Yeah. Well, some of the manufacturers are really billing that boot is going to come down in size a little bit. Salomon is offering this boot, and what they're saying in the literature, it's going to be anywhere from 100 to 104 millimeters.
Right.
So they're really expecting this boot to come out to that mid to high
Right.
volume range, where some of the other brands might be a little bit in that lower volume range.
And to be fair, that particular bigger volume range, or a higher instep, or a higher vamp measurement person is the harder person to fit. So the fact that Salomon has brought this boot into the market with that as one of their primary targets,
Yeah.
then I commend them, because as a boot fitter, this is a boot that I would probably put on a good share of people that
Yeah.
come in with that bigger vamp measurement or a little bit higher volume foot. It's definitely a boot for that. Like I said, I got a few days in it. It skied really well. It did start to pack out on me a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's probably not an ideal boot for me, but there are a lot of feet out there that aren't like mine.
Right. And that's where Salomon, again, they've been working with a custom shell design. And again, you see the oven back here. A good boot fitter is going to heat up that shell for you, and they're going to see what's going to work best for you, whether out of any of these boots,
Right.
and see what's going to match your foot. To an extent, we're showing you some different offerings in
Absolutely.
the BOA, what's available in that BOA world, but it's still going to be up to you and a good boot fitter to decide what's going to be best for your foot out of these offerings.
Yeah, for sure. Don't just go online and order a boot thinking, hey, you said online that this
Yes.
was going to work. See a boot fitter. They're going to help you pick out which of these is the ideal boot for you.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right there. So we've got a multitude of good offerings here, and what's going to be interesting, this is what we're seeing this year, and for 2024-25, I think we're going to see more brands
I think so,
coming
too.
aboard with BOA. It really is a good fit system. It works quite well as far as the ability to adjust. So we've got some different offerings that you're going to see what matches your foot the best. And in the end, a comfortable foot is going to be in a comfortable boot, and that's going to make skiing fun because skiing is fun.
So now we've shown you the overview of the current line, or the current manufacturers that are doing BOA boots, and some of the features and functions of them. And we want to reiterate that you need to go to a fitter, and you need to get a boot that fits you properly, because a properly fitted boot is going to make your feet comfortable, and if your feet are comfortable, you're going to have fun, because in the end,
Skiing is fun.
Hey, it's Dan Egan with Ski Talk. Remember, skiing is fun, addictive, and get out there and do it.
if you enjoyed this informative video, hit that bell, subscribe, so that you'll stay up to date on the new videos, and check out skitalk.com for more ski-related content.
Also, please follow skitalk.com on all of your social media channels.
Popcorn was popped during the production of this video.